Welcome to the Collaborative Rabbit Hole Podcast. I'm Luke.
And I'm Brandon.
We're two cousins who enjoy asking the deep questions of life.
With topics ranging from faith and theology to history, philosophy, culture, and humor.
But we explore every rabbit hole along the way.
And drive each other deeper and deeper down.
Our goal is simple, to be mildly informative and wildly entertaining.
So, pull up a chair.
Buckle up.
Please keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times.
And let's see where today's rabbit trail leads.
Jinx.
Okay, it is recording now. You just kicked me.
Sorry.
I'm sure you are.
I'm so terribly sorry. From the bottom of my heart.
You don't seem it.
How do you know? Do you know my heart?
You're acting.
You're right. I didn't realize that counted as a kick either. I thought it was more of a tap.
It was a kick.
If you say so.
I say so.
Okay. I will disagree to myself.
Out loud.
Sorry, bro.
So I wanted to do an episode where we talk about lessons learned through our experience of recording a podcast. So I guess, what has the experience been like for you?
I'd say it's been a good experience. I do like this format where we try to knock out a few episodes in one session. I've noticed that I do tend to, I try to acknowledge the conversation and the comments while we're going on, like saying, right, okay, gotcha, things like that. I tend to do that. And while I do that outside of the podcast, I think I do it a little bit more during the podcast so that we have more to listen to.
And I don't think I'm as good about that as you are, but when I'm editing, I know I can sometimes tell really long stories and I worry that I'm talking too much. But with you tracking that conversation, it helps for your voice to be heard, and then
gotcha.
Later you end up having a long story too, and so it evens out anyway. But yeah, I do make sure to include all of that. I have noticed that in editing.
Gotcha. Right. I got you, bro. We're good to go.
So, yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What are some things that you've learned about this whole process or during the process?
There's been a lot. There's all the technical stuff, the audio, the editing. I've had some experience video editing, but especially audio editing is a little bit different. But then there's also the marketing side, actually promoting the podcast.
What have you learned about that?
Well, I'm still experimenting with it because I've been posting on Facebook and posting audio clips just with our logo in the background as a video. So that's why I've started recording video. I may make some shorts, funniest moments. That way I have your face on camera for reaction things. Last week I took a picture, and that'll be up on Monday, actually, that clip with your picture in the background.
Nice.
Now we have video so we can capture it all and then make some shorts and reels. And I'm hoping that will help maybe get some traction on our pages.
Yeah.
Also, listeners, you can all help us by sharing, liking, telling your friends about the podcast.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Because thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So our first episode, it started with 53 listeners, I think.
Wow.
And then the next one went down to 31 and then 23. And then we talked earlier about episode 4, Aliens Part 2 is not as popular. Episode 5 has only been out for 2 days at this point. But we're already doing better than episode 4, maybe just the wrong topic for episode 4. But that's also driven some traffic to episode 4. So yeah, y'all could help us out by sharing with your friends, and you could be sharing it.
That is true.
Because I noticed, I don't think you've shared it on Facebook at all.
I might have shared. Actually, no, you're right. I haven't shared.
Yeah, you should be sharing on Facebook every week. I've been trying to do that. And then I've got something for you. This is what I mentioned earlier that you were excited about.
Oh, these are the cards.
Yep.
We have our Collaborative Rabbit Hole podcast cards, everybody.
On the back is a QR code going to my website where I have all of the links. They probably won't be able to get that from the camera, but
probably not.
The links are available on Facebook.
Worth a shot.
And my website, lukelow.com/rabbit hole, will take you to all of the pages.
Nice. Very nice.
So yeah, you should be sharing the link.
I can try that more
I know
often.
you've told some of your friends about it, so.
I have shared a link or two.
Yeah, but I mean on Facebook.
Yeah, I can start sharing more.
So yeah, and that will all help us out a lot. I guess the biggest thing has been like vulnerability.
How so?
Well, like we're recording and you'll all of a sudden be like, wait, should I have just said that? What if so and so's listening?
Right.
And so you feel that in the moment, and while we're recording, I'm like, no, it's fine, it's fine. Me, it's fine until like sometimes when I'm editing, I might start thinking that way, but it's really like the day it posts.
Right.
Like I'll wake up that morning thinking, oh, everyone can hear what I said in that episode now. And that kind of scares me a little bit.
Now all of China knows what I think.
Exactly. Like, especially like the first 2 episodes, I was talking about loneliness. And like, that's like a really vulnerable thing to be talking about on a podcast. And just things like that. Not what I expected.
Right.
And some of those things I told you, like, we're not going to talk about these on the podcast. And then we talked about them and had that vulnerable feeling.
Am I allowed to ask what some of those topics were, or should we just leave that off the record?
We're leaving that off the record.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, we've talked about them, so people know what they are. I don't want to draw attention to them.
Okay.
So just like lots of things there. And then back to the technical issues. I talked in episode 5 about learning the audio stuff, and Jennifer had some critique there. And then I guess back to the vulnerability thing. Do you remember Jennifer's other critique? She didn't say it on the show, but she said it to us when we were out to eat that night.
I don't remember. What was it?
She said she didn't think anyone would listen for more than a couple of episodes.
Gotcha.
Which
we have had that
has
happen.
Sort of rung true, but
not fully though.
I don't think it's that people aren't interested. I think it's that we need to do better at actually getting the word out and attracting an audience. But yeah, that kind of hurt.
Gotcha.
Because I am being vulnerable here. And I talked in episode 2, which, to be fair, she had not listened to yet. But I had talked in episode 2 about why I was doing this and just trying to have something to do that's not be known for my illness. And this is that.
Right.
Whether we have a bunch of listeners or not, this is that. So it wasn't great to hear not a lot of people will want to listen to it.
But hopefully that'll grow with time.
Yes. It's a project and a process.
Yeah. I've heard that people like our interplay, like our different senses of humor, like your sarcastic humor, my animated humor.
It's like classic comedic duo. Straight man, animated, I don't know what they call it.
Animated man.
That's not what they call it.
That could be a superhero, the animated man.
If you say so.
He has cartoon powers just like Popeye. He can knit chains for a giant, like an anchor.
Okay.
We'll work on that later. At least I might. You don't have to. What were we talking about?
Lessons learned.
That's right.
I don't remember what led to that, though.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about like classic duos.
Oh, yeah. Classic comedy duo.
Sometimes I can help to retrace conversations of where were we? Oh, we're talking about this and that. So that's one thing I try to help with here and there.
Yes. Maybe this wasn't such a great episode idea.
I don't know.
Because, like, we're 10 minutes.
Well, we've gotten somewhere with it.
It's a good starting place, though.
It is a good starting place.
Like, where do we go from here?
Anywhere else.
Actually, I really need some water right now.
Okay. Time for an ad break. We don't have ads. Let's do it anyway.
It's still recording.
Oh. I will say I went last night. I got to go to a musical. So we have the local Silver Moon Theater. They did a musical called Bye Bye Birdie. That was fun to watch. I'd never seen it before, and I knew some of the teenagers who were acting in it. They did a great job with it. It's about this like a small town in Ohio, maybe not small, but smallish, smaller. I don't know. Like I think it's called Apple Valley in the 50s. So the singer, Conrad Birdie, is being drafted to go to the army, and his manager is trying to drum up support. Like they did a drawing where it's like, he's going to give a kiss to one lucky girl. And so all the girls in the town are totally fawning over this guy. They're having lots of issues trying to organize everything, trying to keep the studio running. And so calamity ensues, hilarity ensues. It was a fun show to watch. The kids did a phenomenal job. I really enjoyed the show. I just figured I'd put that out there. If you get a chance to watch any Silver Moon Theater, Silver Moon Children's Theater, I'm not sponsored in any way, but I just really enjoy their programs, and I figure you should check them out too. I'm just putting in a nice word for them.
How nice of you.
I like their shows. They're great.
Is that all you talked about while I was gone?
Yep, pretty much.
Okay.
You can cut it out if you need to, but
I'll probably leave it.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to say something good about them because I enjoyed the show.
What's the point of saying something nice if you want me to cut it out?
Well, I was just hoping, like, for I know it's not an advertisement, but I just figured I wanted to say something good. I just worried that if it was an issue, you might have to cut it out, but I was hoping you wouldn't have to cut it out.
No.
Okay, cool.
If you were to write a book on anything, what would it be?
I would do either a sci-fi or a fantasy. Like I love world building, like creating different settings, different characters. Well, not so much the characters as just like the fantasy races or species. And I just like creating creatures and places, and I would like to have stories set in them. So maybe something like the Dinotopia books, where like in that story, you've got this father and son who were shipwrecked on an island, and essentially it follows, it's written like the father's journal, where you go through the island, you encounter all these different people, different dinosaurs and whatnot. And so essentially an exploration, a journal kind of like that, or an encyclopedia or whatever for a fictional setting, that would be a lot of fun to do.
Okay, so yeah, that was going to be my question. You kind of answered it. I was going to ask if you would actually write a story or more of like a reference book for the world in which a story could potentially take place.
I could do that, and honestly, maybe my special interests would lie in just creating the world and collaborating with another author to write stories within the world. Like maybe that could help, or maybe that could be a good project as well to get involved in.
Interesting.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I am writing a book, so
Mhm.
I know exactly what it would be.
Hmm.
My life.
Your life.
Yep, I'm writing a memoir,
Excellent.
specifically my journey with chronic illness. I mean, beyond that, I'll probably be writing about theology, maybe make a collection of sermons, various things. I would write lots of books. I want to write lots of books.
What about
I literally just said
the collections of sermons, different things like that?
yes, and I've got a few fictional ideas, but I'm not going to share them
Okay, see, like
because I don't want anyone to steal them.
the fictional ideas, like things like that I would ask about, but okay, we're going to save those for
Well,
when you
I
write
feel
them.
like I've talked to you about them before anyway.
Fair enough.
Yep. So let's try one of your world building exercises. I don't know what this is going to be like.
No.
You
Okay.
can't.
Darn it, I'm sorry. We're going to have to cut that out, aren't we?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. Maybe a blooper reel or something. I don't know.
This is the third time you've tried singing that song. Blooper reels don't count because they're like still copyrighted even in a blooper reel.
Okay. All right. So here's the deal. Okay. I'll just come up with some random questions. No, not random questions. I've actually prepared some of this before.
Oh goodness.
Let me ask you something. Okay.
So this is like a Mad Libs type of thing.
Essentially, yeah. Let's just take an idea and let's see how far we can go with it.
Okay.
Okay. So, if vampires were real, what kinds of weapons would they use? We can place this in any era. It can be medieval times, it can be early modern, it can be the modern 21st century.
Why does a vampire need a weapon?
Elaborate on this. What do you mean, why does a vampire need a weapon?
Like, don't they just use their teeth?
I mean, what if somebody tries to punch a vampire? Is he just going to block it with his mouth?
Block it the same way a person would block it?
So, are we getting into martial arts here?
Is martial arts a weapon?
You use your body as a weapon.
Okay, fine. Their body.
Okay, so in this case, are vampires as strong as humans or stronger or weaker?
Probably a little bit stronger, but I wouldn't imagine it's like a huge difference.
Okay.
I imagine Chuck Norris could still. Did I say truck?
You kind of did.
Chuck Norris could probably defeat a vampire.
Okay.
There may be some other humans, but
Mhm.
I mean, it's not like they have super strength, but
Stronger within human levels, within natural levels.
yes,
Okay.
it would be among the strongest humans.
Yeah. So we're not talking like Twilight levels of superhuman strength.
I know nothing about Twilight.
Okay. They have super strong, super fast vampires, like not Superman level, but still pretty strong and fast. Okay. So you're saying they would use hand-to-hand combat for if vampires had to fight.
Sure.
Okay.
And they could use whatever is available to them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think about carrying weapons.
Okay.
I don't carry weapons.
Well, me neither. It's just, it's a fun thing to think about with.
Okay.
Okay. So I've been,
Like, it just doesn't seem fair for them to have like a sword or a gun or something.
because they're inherently stronger.
I think they should be armed with what everyone else is typically armed with.
Mhm. So, like, if vampires were to, well, like, they have to live alongside humans, or to some extent they could be isolated from humans, but also, like, since vampires feed on human blood, would they have any specific weapons that you think they would use to facilitate drinking human blood or feeding on humans?
Their teeth.
Okay. How do they catch the humans? Do they just jump out and with their jaws bared?
The same way serial killers do it. I don't know.
They sneak up on them and okay. Okay.
This is a very creepy discussion.
Okay, I'm not trying to be creepy with it. I just thought it would be fun.
I'm not in the habit of thinking about what weapons to use or how to attack people.
Okay. Okay, I don't think about attacking people. I'm just thinking of vampires like in a fantasy setting. Like, let's say, okay, let's go back to...
You're still asking me how to attack people in a fantasy setting.
Well, I was going to explain my thoughts on it instead of
Okay,
asking your thoughts.
explain your thoughts.
Okay, so I figure I went at it a couple of ways. On the one hand, I think since vampires are long-lived, they would probably use whatever weapons they were using in life, like whether, like in medieval times, swords or spears or crossbows, whatever they're used to, and they could have hundreds of years more experience using them, and they can get really good with them. On the other hand, if vampires tried to be strategic, I figure since they drink blood, they would want to capture prey while minimizing blood loss. So in that case, I could see clubs for melee weapons. Clubs could be good because I know you cause bruising, but you don't. It's like less swords or knives because slashing weapons you could increase blood flow. I could also see lassos. You could lasso humans with it, but that also implies that we could end up with vampire cowboys, which would be a strange thing, but still, like tricks or weapons that capture prey. I know, like bolas that the Native Americans used to use in South America. I could see them using bolas to capture humans as well. I could see, what about a whip like Indiana Jones? I mean, you can. It's not going to cause as much blood loss as slicing someone with a knife, But like, what about a whip?
Mm-hmm.
And you could also, well, like, didn't he grab some people with it? Like he would,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so you could also use that as a way to immobilize humans.
Mm-hmm.
I figured they could use some of those things. They might also use, like, sai, like the Japanese weapon, the sais. They could use those to...
What is that?
It's the three-pronged weapon used in some Japanese martial arts. Like, I started training with some of them when I did Shorin-ryu karate, but I never got very far with it.
I still have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, have you seen the Ninja Turtles?
No.
Okay. Tell you what, let's Google this. Sai, it's spelled S-A-I. Let me...
Is it like a boomerang looking thing?
No, it's like, it's got a handle and three prongs, sort of like a handheld trident. Let's see.
Yeah, I think you've thought way too much about this.
But it's fun.
If you say so.
Pointed melee weapon from Okinawa. You see this?
Okay.
Yeah, so sai. I figured they could use the sai, if like a human is attacking them, they could use the sai to block sword strikes and to get the swords away from them, to disarm the humans, so then they could capture them or give them a punch to knock them out.
Okay.
So I figured that was a thing.
Okay.
So to summarize, I think vampires would use whatever weapons they were good at back when they were humans, and they would use weapons to minimize blood loss and to help them capture humans for prey.
Great.
So yeah.
Thank you for clearing that up.
You're welcome.
So what else you got?
What else I got? Okay. Let me see. Are there any fantasy creatures where you just wanted to do a new spin or a new take on them?
No.
Okay. Because a while back, okay, why don't you think about these things?
These aren't things that normal people think about.
Okay, well, I guess I'm not normal then, because I like thinking about these things. Okay, so there have been many franchises where people will design, like dragons. They have many different designs for dragons, like the book series How to Train Your Dragon, which was adopted into a movie franchise. There's a YouTuber named Sawyer Lee. He's got a series called the Dragon Codex. People love to design all these different species. And I was thinking, why don't we have some more variety with that for other fantasy creatures as well? And we are getting some of that. Let's see, what's something we've got? Like unicorns, for instance. It's supposed to be a horse with a horn. And if you go back to early medieval literature or art, you might have like cloven hooves of a goat or whatnot. But besides that, it's mostly based on a horse. It's like, what's another way we could do a unicorn? Is there anything?
Well, why don't you tell us?
Okay. Well, I know that people think that unicorns were based on the rhinoceros or maybe the Arabian oryx. We could do a unicorn that was, say, one that's actually a rhino, one that's thicker and stronger. Or we could just have a single horned oryx with a different biology like that. There are many different ways we could do it. One thing I know, with griffins, griffins are also flying creatures like dragons, but I don't see as many artistic projects where they have different species of griffins and stuff. It's more the dragons.
You might need to explain to our listeners what a griffin is.
Okay, so a griffin is a beast that is half eagle, half lion. It's got the eagle front half with the head, the wings, and the talons, and it's got a lion's back half, the back legs and the tail and the fur. You might have seen them in like the Chronicles of Narnia franchise, or I know a similar creature called a hippogriff is when a griffin and a horse reproduce, and you have the eagle front half and the horse back half. Besides that, I haven't seen much variety with griffins. So I figured, what are some other combinations besides eagles and lions? Like, I know that the Aztecs used to value jaguars and eagles. So what if instead of a lion half, you just have a jaguar half? It could be the Mesoamerican griffin. Or since the Americas have two large big cats, we've got, the jaguar and the mountain lion. You could have two species of griffin, one that's larger, one that's smaller. And through niche partitioning, they could live side by side, or they would just live in different areas.
Okay.
Yeah. See, let's talk about the biology stuff. You like biology, right?
Not this kind of biology.
Not the animal biology. Gotcha. Is there any creature off the bat where you're like, I could redesign it?
Isn't that literally what you asked me a few minutes ago and I said no?
Well, I did. I just figured maybe with some more time to
Maybe you inspired me is what you're thinking?
Yeah. Did I inspire you?
No.
Oh, okay.
You did not.
Well, it was worth a shot.
What else you got?
Okay, garden gnomes.
Okay.
What would it be like if they were to build a kingdom or a civilization? Like, what if they went from Stone Age to, I don't know, let's say medieval or modern times? Like,
weird.
How is it weird? I mean, how would it be different? Would it be the same like us, or would it go along different lines than what humans went through?
Well, I assume it would be smaller.
Exactly. Do you think the buildings, would they build little huts on the ground, or would they build tree houses? Would they dig holes in the mountainside? What do you think they would do?
I don't know. What do you think they would do?
I think they could do a combination of those. I mean, tree houses might be less practical. I mean, since we don't have some fantasy-sized gigantic trees, except like maybe the California redwoods or sequoias, but since they are smaller and would need less space, I do think gnomes could have tree houses, like human-sized tree houses, but for living. Because frankly, our tree houses could be like a single room for us or single room for gnomes, and that could be fine for a hut. Do you think would gnomes domesticate any animals?
No, I think they would be, well, maybe like mice or something. I think they would be afraid of most animals, though.
And that's fair. They would be a prey item for a lot of the larger carnivores. Yep. So dogs, domesticated from wolves, that could certainly be out. There's a much smaller chance. I'm not sure I'm going to say impossible, but a much smaller chance. I will say that sheep, goats, and dogs were some of the earliest animals that we think people domesticated. I could see them taming sheep and goats and raising them as livestock and stuff. And depending on the size of the gnome, I mean, you could potentially ride a goat. Because, have you ever seen mutton busting?
Okay.
Yeah, so at the rodeo, sometimes they put kids on the back of a sheep and they see if they can hold on. So if we've got kids riding sheep, surely a gnome could ride a sheep. Just imagine a little garden gnome hanging on there.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, the tiny legs, if they're like garden gnome size, the tiny legs would be an issue, so saddles would be useful. But anyway, I figured they could at least raise sheep and goats. And also, how in India, like sometimes they tame elephants? I figured they could do something like that with maybe horses or cattle. You could at least tame some of the larger animals, even if you're too small to selectively breed them or something. So I figure they could be riding sheep or goats. Cats, like house cats, I think they would be somewhat dangerous, but they might still be useful for keeping vermin out of their food supplies.
They would be domesticating the vermin.
Well, they would do that too. That would be a good food source. I think rats and mice were domesticated late 19th, early 20th century. Cats sort of domesticated themselves, or I'm not sure to what extent they domesticated themselves and to what extent, people did spread them around after breeding them. So I will say, I think that also having some cats to help with the wild mice population, I think that could be useful as well. Rabbits, modern rabbits are bred from the wild rabbit there. So I do think rabbits would be a good livestock option for food. Yeah. So right now we're thinking gnomes would have a smaller civilization with some of the smaller animals that we might have today.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah. You got any thoughts?
No.
Okay.
Not on that.
All right. Anyway, I thought about this some, so I figured
I can tell.
It would be a fun exercise to think about.
If you say so.
Yeah, I have fun.
What else you got? I'm afraid to ask.
I've got a list from a while back. I'm not sure if it fits our world building theme or not, though. Let's see. We've got some things like this. That list. Okay. What is an alternate history idea that you would like to explore?
Oh, goodness.
Something that could have happened or didn't happen, but like a what if.
What if John Wilkes Booth had been unsuccessful in killing Lincoln? Because I think Lincoln had a much more specific plan for Reconstruction than Andrew Johnson did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think things might have gone better had Lincoln lived.
Yeah. I think reintegration would have been a little bit better with rebuilding the Union. The full union of all the states. Yeah. What else? Or do you have some other thoughts on that?
You just threw this topic at me. I came up with something on the spot. I haven't thought about it.
Okay.
I gave you the extent of my thoughts on it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think things would have gone smoother if Lincoln had been alive to oversee it himself.
Okay. And I agree. Do you think he would have run for a third term?
I don't know. Possibly, just because it would have been nice to, have a term where he's elected by everyone and then gets to lead them. But that was the beginning of his second term when he was shot, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
Because I think the election would have been 1860 and then another in 1864. And so then the second term would have started in around January of 1865 and he was killed in April.
Right.
So I think that would have been toward the beginning of his second term. So he might have just been tired at that point. He'd led the Union during war and then led the Union 4 years after war and would have been ready to retire like everyone else had after 2 terms. And also, at that point, what are the chances that he would get reelected? Because at that point, you're including the southern states in the elections and they might not like him at that point. Who knows?
That is a possibility.
So he may not have even tried to get that third term just based on that. And even if he had, he probably wouldn't have won.
Right.
But just a smoother Reconstruction following the war, I think that also could have had much further reaching consequences as well.
Yeah.
Because we still dealt with racism for 100 years after that point. That was still a really big problem.
Certainly.
And part of that, especially earlier on, could have been bitterness from the Southern having lost the war. And we see, in the Churches of Christ, our fellowship, the Restoration movement in general, the Churches of Christ, Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, they were all one movement originally, and they didn't divide during the Civil War. I think it was James A. Garfield, later president, but he was a general during the Civil War. He was also a Church of Christ preacher.
Oh.
And so he's an example where the Church of Christ and the Restoration movement did not really split during the Civil War. He was a Union general in Tennessee. He had a garrison there, southern town, and he preached regularly at the Church of Christ there.
Oh.
There was no split in the church over that. And there were a number of reasons for the split later on, but one of those was after the Civil War, the attitudes the North and South had toward each other. Those attitudes didn't affect the church as much during the war itself, but after the war, there was some bitterness from the South having lost the war and the North winning it.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, that's a interesting dynamic how the war itself didn't have that effect, but the attitudes after the war did.
There was something you reminded me of. Earlier, you mentioned that the winners write history. For the Civil War, it's mostly the Southerners who wrote about Civil War history. So there was this one historian, Scott Rankin. He made a comment that it was the writers who wrote the history. And it's like not always the winners, but the writers. And I thought that was a really interesting point he brought up.
Explain what you mean.
Okay, so we have this common saying, it's the winners who write history. But as we saw with the Civil War, it was the losers, the South, who wrote it. So this could be an example of it's not always the winners.
Explain what you mean by the South writing.
Historians from the southern states have written several histories on the Civil War and have gotten into the issues of what the Civil War is about and whatnot.
Historians in what era?
Historians in the post-Civil War era.
How far post?
Anywhere from immediately after to within 100 years of the Civil War.
Because I also mean by writing history is not the literal actual writing of the story, but the actual narrative that's being told.
Yeah.
And it's not even that the losers don't write their own narrative. Mm-hmm. That they don't have their own narrative. It's the dominant narrative is from the winning side.
Yeah. And I do think that Southern writers have had a large impact on the dominant narrative about the Civil War, at least in the 20th century.
And part of that is the Civil War, it's harder to recognize a winning side and a losing side because ultimately we all came back into unity.
Right.
And so it is more complicated with the Civil War.
And it was very, very hard for both sides as well. Very, very bloody. We lost a lot of men on both sides.
More than any other war that the United States has participated in.
Right. So going back to the alternate history question, what's a topic I would like to explore? What if Thomas Jefferson hadn't made the Louisiana Purchase?
Someone else would have?
They might have. I know that the territory swapped hands between France and Spain. I do wonder if the area could have remained in the hands of one of those two empires and then later become its own country. Or
I think no matter what, it eventually would have ended up in the U.S. anyway.
I could certainly see that. We did have, like with the settling of Texas, we had settlers come in from America, and then they later broke off. And so I do think we would have had white Americans moving into at least some of the Louisiana territory, if not all of it, and eventually declaring independence. So I could see parts of, say, California, or like before the Mexican-American War, I could see some of the western states remaining part of Mexico later on. But at the same time, I do think you're right. There would have been American settlers moving west and settling some of those states and eventually bringing them into the Union. But I haven't studied a lot on it. So that's just what little I know.
Is there anything to study on it?
Just migration patterns, I guess. But well, I guess I can't guess on the future or whatnot. I can just talk about what happened as a historian, and I'm not even a professional historian. This is all conjecture.
And you're trying to guess not the future, but what would have happened in the future if the past had been different.
Yeah, I think our countries might have been...
Which is not even history.
Which is not even history. I'm contradicting myself.
It's not history or the future or the present.
It's an alternate past. Okay.
But that goes to my point.
Yes.
What is there to study about it? If it's all alternate.
I guess you could just study whatever patterns happened to conjecture on what could have happened. And there's only so much, only to some
But
extent.
If the history itself had changed, wouldn't the patterns also have changed?
That is also true. There would have been new barriers to Americans settling the West, international barriers. So I think the maps might have been a little bit different today, but there would have been some similarities, perhaps.
Now, here's an interesting one that I just thought of a couple minutes ago.
Okay.
What if, United States still wins the revolution, but Britain never acknowledged America's sovereignty? They had to withdraw their troops, but they never acknowledged their sovereignty and just kept coming back. Which I know we've got, the War of 1812, and so we do have an example early on in history of that, but what if that had just continued indefinitely?
More warfare, more invasions?
Well, not even necessarily invasions. They might leave us alone, at least for a while. And there might be more warfare too, but just continuing to exist separately. No working together, more of a Cold War type attitude.
Right.
World War II, World War I would have been different, things like that.
Yeah, there's certainly, I don't know how much trade there was before the War of 1812, but there certainly would have been less of it if it was a Cold War situation, just not even acknowledging our presence or just
acknowledging our presence, but not acknowledging us as a country.
us as a country.
Our own government.
Yeah. I wonder to what extent other European nations would have recognized us as a power or as its own country without Britain acknowledging us.
France.
Yeah, France was on our side too, though.
Exactly.
France and Spain would have.
And so I think that would have helped the situation too. But then as history progressed, like the UK pretty much is dominant in Europe.
Mhm.
Although they have withdrawn from the European Union now, so Brexit. Yay.
It finally happened.
Yeah. They finally declared their independence from Europe.
When was the official date on that?
Oh, I have no idea. 2016?
Because I knew that the British people voted on it, and I didn't think Parliament went ahead with it. And then there was also
I thought it happened a long time ago.
And there was a Scottish referendum on whether or not to remain part of the United Kingdom. And
okay, here it is.
Okay.
So 2016, I was right about that year. British voters choose to leave the EU with 51.9% of the vote. June 23rd, 2016. March 29th, 2017, the UK triggers Article 50 to begin formal exit talks. And then January 31st, 2020, the UK officially leaves the European Union. And then December 31st, 2020, the transition period ends, ending free movement and single market access.
Okay. I didn't know that. I just knew that Parliament was reluctant to enforce it. I didn't know that they did go ahead with it.
It was less than a year.
Okay. I've been very much out of the loop then.
Yes, you have.
It's good of you to keep me straight.
Anyway, what others do you have?
What if during the Columbian Exchange, we didn't have all the diseases?
Columbian Exchange?
Can we call it that anymore?
You're going to have to refresh my memory.
Okay, so the Columbian Exchange...
And I'm sure none of our listeners probably know what it is either.
The Columbian Exchange was the movement of people, cultures, plants, animals, and diseases from the Western Hemisphere to the Eastern Hemisphere and back. So like between Europe, Africa, North, and South America.
So why is it called the Columbian Exchange?
Because Christopher Columbus got to the Caribbean in 1492. Okay, so like if the diseases hadn't passed mostly from Europe to the Americas, but there was also a disease or two that passed from the Americas to Europe. So if that hadn't happened, how might things be different?
Well, we would all be in Europe right now.
Yeah. I don't think we would have been born.
Possibly.
Because our ancestors came here from Europe, and then they met other people who'd come from Europe, so they might not have interacted in Europe.
There is all of that, and then one of the reasons they were coming over here was because of the overpopulation problem, so they might have not been having as many kids, and our ancestors may have never been born.
Indeed. They wouldn't be coming over for all the readily available land, which wasn't always readily available, but anyway.
It was readily available enough for them to take by force.
Indeed. There we go. There would be a lot more Native Americans alive and well today, and they would have built stronger nations on their own. I think there would have been very limited European colonization or settlement. More like what we have with
And probably not... Go ahead.
It might be more like with Africa or India or Indonesia.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Probably not as technologically advanced because a lot of that comes from European influence.
Right. And so at the most, you might end up with, if the Europeans if they conquered any nations or kingdoms or tribes, they might have the European ruling class, but there still would have been a Native American majority in whatever colonies or nations we had in the Americas. I think the world would be quite a different place.
Maybe more peaceful, too.
Maybe so.
Any others?
Not off the top of my head. You got anything?
Nope. Any parting thoughts for this episode?
It's been neat to explore ideas. Thank you for giving me a shot, and we'll see where the future leads us.
You might want to beg our listeners not to abandon us.
Please don't leave us. I know I'm weird, but please give me another chance. Please.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, subscribe, and leave a review. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, where the conversation never ends. Thanks for listening.